The day my parents signed the family farm over to my sister's husband, I swear I heard the land go quiet. That dirt held my childhood, my scars, my sweat, my backbone. I fixed fences, fed cattle at sunrise, stayed through storms while he posted selfies from the city. Then they called him the true heir and handed him everything. I didn't scream, I didn't beg, I just smiled and thought, fine, I'll build something bigger. If you're interested in this gist, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments, and I will give you a heart. People always imagine farms as peaceful places. Fields glowing in the sunrise, cows grazing in slow motion, birds singing like a Hallmark card. They don't picture the cold mornings where your fingers go numb before the sun even wakes up, or the nights you fall asleep in your boots because you're too tired to untie the laces. They also don't picture betrayal, real betrayal, because nobody expects the place that raised you to become the place that breaks you. I grew up believing the land would always love me back. My father used to say, real loyalty is in the soil, it remembers who works it. Funny how he forgot his own words when it mattered. I was out by the east fence the morning everything changed, tightening a line of wire that had snapped during the storm. My gloves were soaked, my hair trapped in cold wind, and my jeans were so muddy they felt twice their weight. Dad stood near the barn talking to my sister and her husband, Clint. I didn't think much of it at first. They were always talking about future plans, as if I wasn't part of the future, but something in their tone pulled me in. Not the words, the laughter, the smug kind, the kind that snaps through the air like a whip. I kept working, but my ears stayed locked on them. Then Dad raised his voice, loud enough for me to hear across the field. Well, it's done then, he said. The papers are signed. My grip on the pliers slipped. Papers? Signed? I stepped closer, slow but steady. Clint shook Dad's hand like a man accepting a trophy he didn't earn. My sister clapped like she'd been waiting her whole life for this moment. Something icy crawled up my spine. What papers? I called out. Dad didn't turn. My sister didn't turn? But Clint, oh, he turned. With that polite little smirk of his, the kind people wear when they win a game you didn't know you were playing. Your parents transferred the farm to me, he said casually, for long-term stability. I laughed, not a funny laugh, the kind that feels like glass cracking in your chest. You're joking. My sister rolled her eyes. Come on, don't be dramatic. Dramatic would have been throwing my tools across the field. Dramatic would have been calling them out right there. Instead, I held my breath and tried to understand. I've been running this farm every day for the last 7 years, I said quietly. You don't even know how to start the generator. That's why we need someone with long-term potential, my father said, finally turning to face me. His face, that hurt the most. No guilt, no doubt, not even hesitation, just cold certainty. You're smart, he said. You'll figure something else out. Something else? Something else? I spent my entire life figuring out everything for them. I fed the animals on Christmas morning. I fixed tractors in the rain. I harvested through sickness. I missed vacations, relationships, birthdays, everything. Because I believed this land was my responsibility. And now they were telling me to go figure something else out? My sister crossed her arms. Clint is a man. He can build a future here. My jaw locked. A man? He's a dentist. A dentist with leadership qualities, she snapped. Unlike you. I should have walked away. I should have breathed. I should have stayed calm. But something inside me, something tired, something bruised, something done, rose up like fire. Leadership? I stepped right up to her. Is that what we're calling nepotism now? Clint stepped in. Look, we don't want you to take this personally. Really? I said, how else should I take being erased from my own life? Dad shook his head like I was the one being unreasonable. We didn't erase you. We just made the choice that's best for the family. Your family? I said, my voice trembling, or your favorite? He didn't answer. And that was my answer. That moment right there, That's when something in me snapped. But not the kind of break that leaves you weaker and the kind that wakes you up. Fine, I said. You want him to have the farm? Let him have it. Let him have the broken tractors, the endless bills, the cabs born at 3 a.m., the droughts, the flooding, the stress. Let him have all of it. My sister smirked. So, you're quitting? I looked her dead in the eyes. No. I'm walking away before I drown trying to keep you all afloat. Dad looked startled. He hadn't expected that. They expected me to cling, to beg, to fight for crumbs. Not this. Not freedom. Where will you go? My mother asked from the porch. I hadn't even noticed her there. She looked worried. Real worry. Not performative, not strategic. But the worry wasn't for me. It was for the farm. Where will you live? She added. What will you do? I couldn't help laughing. Everything you never let me do. I walked into the barn, grabbed my backpack, took one last look at the stalls I'd cleaned 1,000 times, the tools I'd handled more than silverware, the space that held the best and worst parts of me, and I walked out. My father said my name once. Just once. Not enough to make me turn around, not enough to stop the storm inside me. I stepped off that land with mud on my boots and fire in my blood, and as I reached the main road, something wild sparked in my chest, an idea, a memory, a possibility I'd buried years ago. Something bigger than their farm, something louder than their betrayal, something mine. Something that whispered, it's time to build your own damn ranch. The road away from the farm felt longer than it ever had, even though I'd walked it 1,000 times before. Maybe it was because this time I wasn't going to town for supplies or to the neighboring ranch for help or to the market to sell crops. This time I was walking away from a life that was supposed to be mine, a future that was supposed to belong to me, a legacy I had poured my entire heart into. And yet, with every step, I felt something surprising rising in my chest. Not fear, not regret, but relief. The kind of relief that hits you when a weight you didn't realize was crushing you suddenly disappears. For the first time in years, the air felt breathable. I reached the old bus stop, the same one I waited at when I was 15 and dreamed of traveling, leaving the farm for a week or two, seeing the world beyond cattle fences and hay bales. And I never got to. My parents always needed me. The animals won't feed themselves, Dad would say. We need you here, Mom would echo. But now, I didn't owe them a single sunrise. Pulled out my phone, dozens of notifications. Calls from Mom, messages from my sister, 2 texts from Clint, both unread and destined to stay that way, and one message that made me stop breathing for a second. It was from someone I hadn't spoken to since high school. Eli. The boy who lived on the ranch 2 towns over. The boy who used to sneak me apples from his orchard. The boy who had dreams as big as mine, but left long before I ever found the courage to. His message was short. Heard what happened. If you need a place to stay or help, I'm around. Call me. I stared at the screen, stunned. How did he even know? News traveled fast in small towns, sure, but this was lightning speed. And before I could think too much, another bus pulled up. I got on, didn't ask where it was going, didn't care. I just needed to move. Sitting by the window, I watched the fields blur by, fields I used to know by heart, that patch of dirt where I broke my wrist falling off a horse, that bend in the fence I fixed 17 times because the wind hated it, that tree where I buried my childhood dog. The land wasn't the villain. The land never hurt me. The people did. When the bus reached town, I stepped off and walked with no real destination. My boots carried me through the streets past the hardware store, the diner, the feed shop, places where folks would certainly ask questions if they saw me. So I slipped into the one place where no one ever bothered to look, the abandoned greenhouse behind Miller's nursery. The glass was cracked, weeds tangled through the floor, and the wooden tables were half rotted, but sunlight spilled through the shattered panels like hope sneaking in. I sat on one of the broken tables and let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. And for the first time, I allowed myself to feel everything: the anger, the betrayal, the humiliation, the grief of losing something I worked my whole life for. I didn't cry. I thought I would, but no tears came. Instead, I felt something steadier, something fiercer: determination. They thought I'd fold. They thought I'd break. They thought I'd stay small. But I'd spent years doing the jobs no one else wanted, solving the problems no one else could handle, carrying the weight no one acknowledged. I wasn't weak. I was exhausted. There's a difference. And now that I wasn't exhausted anymore, something dangerous was waking up inside me. A voice I'd ignored for too long. A voice that whispered, "Build your own. Build something bigger. Build something that will make them regret ever counting you out." I pulled out my notebook, the one I used to keep hidden under my mattress. Inside were pages and pages of ideas I'd never shown anyone. Plans for a ranch, designs for barns, lists of livestock breeds, notes about soil types, sustainable farming methods I'd researched late at night, dreams I'd never allowed myself to pursue because I thought loyalty meant staying in one place. Turns out I was loyal to the wrong people. And suddenly, everything clicked. I had ideas, I had knowledge, I had experience. What I didn't have was land. But land could be found, bought, borrowed, leased, shared. Opportunities existed everywhere, especially for someone who wasn't afraid of hard work. My phone buzzed again, another message from Eli, this time longer. "I know your father. I know how he thinks. You deserve better. Let's talk when you're ready." I hesitated. Calling him would mean revisiting a whole chapter of my life I had locked away. But then again, maybe that chapter had something I needed. Or someone. I typed back, "Where are you?" His reply came instantly. "My ranch, same place. Come by anytime." The thought of showing up at Eli's ranch made my stomach twist. Not in fear, but in anticipation. He always believed in me more than my own family did, and I remembered something he told me years ago, leaning against the fence while his horse grazed nearby. "You know more about farming than most grown men," he'd said. "If you ever started your own ranch, you'd run this whole county." Back then, it sounded like a compliment. Now it sounded like prophecy. I jumped off the greenhouse table, brushed dirt off my jeans, and headed toward the road. The sun was setting, turning the sky gold and orange, and the wind carried the smell of cut hay, a familiar smell, a comforting one that reminded me that the land might hurt me, but it never abandoned me. People did that, but land waited. I walked toward Eli's ranch with purpose, boots crunching gravel, heart steady, mind sharp. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know where this path would lead, but I knew one thing for certain. If my family wanted to throw me away, they were about to watch me rise higher than any of them ever dreamed. Eli's ranch sat on the outskirts of town, far enough away that you could hear your own thoughts, close enough that rumors still traveled there faster than the wind. I walked the long gravel path that led to his front gate, each crunch of stone under my boots echoing like a countdown. By the time I reached the entrance, Eli was already standing there, leaning against the fence like he'd been waiting for me long before I ever texted him. He looked older, broader, stronger, like the boy I once knew had stepped into the kind of man life tried to break but failed. "You look different," he said as I approached. "Lighter," I huffed a quiet laugh. "I feel unchained." "Good," he said. "Come on, let's talk." He led me along the path toward the barn. The place was bigger than I remembered. New fencing, new stalls, new equipment, everything clean and well kept. Eli wasn't just surviving out here, he was thriving. It stung a little, realizing he'd built something on his own while I stayed stuck holding my family's world together. But it also inspired something sharp and bright inside me. We stopped near the corral where a chestnut mare grazed lazily. "So," he said, crossing his arms, "they give your family farm to Clint." Even hearing it out loud made my jaw clench. "Yup." "And they didn't even tell you?" "Nope." He looked out across his field like he was trying not to punch the air. "I always knew your father was stubborn," he muttered. "But this This takes talent. Thank you, I said dryly. I'm glad my betrayal impresses you. He chuckled. Not the betrayal. Your ability to walk away. I shrugged, staring at the dirt. I didn't have a choice. You had the hardest choice, he corrected. Stay where you're mistreated, or leave and rebuild everything from zero. I didn't respond, because hearing someone say it like that made my chest ache in a way I wasn't prepared for. Come on, he said gently. I want to show you something. He led me behind the barn to a wide open stretch of land, rolling fields bordered by old oaks and a small creek winding through the back. The grass swayed in the wind like it was breathing. The sun dipped low, casting gold across everything, making the world look too beautiful for the pain I was carrying. This piece, he said, motioning around us. I've been holding on to it. Bought it from the county 2 years ago. It's beautiful, I whispered. It's empty, he corrected. Unused, untouched, waiting. Waiting for what? I asked. He looked at me. Really? Like he was searching for something he knew was there before I did. Waiting for someone who actually knows what to do with land. My breath caught. Eli. I'm serious, he said, stepping closer. You want to build a ranch, don't you? My heart thumped hard. Yes, I admitted quietly. I do. Then build it here. The wind went still for a moment. No birds, no rustling, just silence. Thick, heavy, unreal silence. I can't take your land, I whispered. I'm not giving it to you, he said. I'm offering a partnership. My brows shot up. A partnership? 50-50, he said. You run the ranching operations. I handle the business side. We build something together. Something real, something sustainable, something better than anything your parents ever allowed you to imagine. My throat tightened. Why? He shrugged, like the answer was obvious. Because you deserve it. Because you're good at this. Because I've watched you work since we were kids, and I've never seen anyone respect the land the way you do. And because, he paused, choosing his words carefully, because your family never saw you, never valued what you brought. But I did. Something inside me cracked, not in pain, but in recognition. I spent years waiting for my parents to see me, and here was someone who saw me without even trying. Eli, I whispered again. I don't know what to say. Say yes. His voice was soft but firm. Say you're ready to stop shrinking yourself so they feel big. A laugh escaped my throat. A real one, light and fragile. You make it sound easy. It isn't, he said, but it's worth it. I looked around at the land, the open fields, the endless sky, the opportunity stretching wider than the horizon. And for the first time in my life, I saw my dream not as a distant wish, but as a possibility, a real, tangible possibility. But then my phone buzzed again. This time, the message wasn't from my sister or Clint or my mother. It was from my father. Single sentence, one that stopped me cold. You have 10 minutes to come home before we make decisions you won't like. My breath froze. The nerve, the arrogance, the control. Eli saw my expression twist. What's wrong? He asked. My father, I said slowly, is trying to pull the same old tricks. Eli stepped closer. What did he say? I showed him the message. His jaw tightened. Oh, he's scared, Eli said. He's terrified. Why? I asked bitterly. Because you walked out, Eli said. Because you finally said no. You shook the foundation of his world, and now he's doing the only thing he knows, trying to scare you back. I swallowed hard. My whole life, fear had worked. Fear of disappointing him. Fear of being ungrateful, fear of stepping out of line. But now, I wasn't the same girl who held the farm together while everyone else got credit. I wasn't the quiet daughter following orders to keep the peace. I wasn't the dependable labor with no voice. I was a woman with land in front of me, a partner beside me, and a fire inside me big enough to burn the past down. What are you going to do? Eli asked. I stared at my father's message one more time. Then I clicked delete. The message vanished, gone, like the version of me who used to obey. I'm going to build a ranch, I said. And then Eli asked, smiling like he already knew. I lifted my chin. I'm going to make them watch. And the wind carried that vow through the fields like a spark looking for something to ignite. By the time I left Eli's ranch and headed back toward town, the sky was sinking into one of those deep orange sunsets that makes everything look more dramatic than it already is. The wind was sharp, cutting across the fields, carrying the smell of hay and a storm that hadn't yet broken. It matched the tension in my chest perfectly. The closer I got to town, the more my father's message replayed in my mind, decisions you won't like. He really thought he still had that kind of power. He really thought I was still the girl who responded to threats with obedience. But that girl was gone, replaced by someone who wasn't afraid to burn bridges if the bridge kept leading her into the same fire. The main street was quiet as I walked through, only a few shops still open and the buzz of the neon lights flickering above the diner. I passed the window, caught my reflection, and paused. My face looked different, sharper, more serious, like someone who wasn't afraid of confrontation anymore, like someone who had finally realized she had value outside her family. Then I saw someone behind me in the reflection. My sister, Claire. She stepped out of the shadows like she'd been waiting to catch me alone. "We need to talk," she said, breathless like she'd run after me. I didn't stop walking. "No, we don't." She followed anyway. "Dad's furious." "He usually is. He says you're being unreasonable." I laughed. A low, dry sound. "Of course he does. He lost control for 5 minutes and now he thinks the world is ending." "It's not like that," she insisted, but her tone cracked. "He's worried. He's threatened." She flinched. "Good. Truth has a sting." We reached the courthouse steps and I stopped, letting her stand there under the dim light, looking smaller than she ever had before. "Tell me the real reason you're here," I said. She hesitated, once, twice. Then the truth spilled out. "They're meeting with a lawyer." My stomach tightened. "Why?" "Because," she whispered, "they're scared you're planning to take legal action against them." My jaw dropped for a moment before a dark, ironic laugh slipped out. "Take legal action? Me? Against the farm they stole?" "They're paranoid," she said, "and Dad is spiraling." "Good," I said flatly. Her eyes widened. "That's cruel." "No," I said, stepping closer. "What's cruel is working my whole life for something you got for free. What's cruel is Dad telling me I'm replaceable. What's cruel is being treated like labor, not family." "You don't know everything," she said, folding her arms. "Then enlighten me." She didn't. Because she couldn't, her silence was the closest thing to honesty she'd ever given me. "Look," she said finally, "Dad wants to talk to you before he signs anything." A chill ran through me. "Signs what?" Claire pulled a folded paper from her jacket. "A document restricting your access to the property." My breath froze in my throat. "He wants to ban me. He's angry," she said quickly. "He's thinking irrationally. If you just apologize." "Apologize?" I repeated, stunned. "For what? Being betrayed?" "For walking out," she snapped. "For leaving us to deal with everything alone." There it was, the truth. Not that I wasn't good enough, not that Clint was a better leader, not that the farm needed a man. No, the truth was simple. I was the one who kept everything running, and they were finally realizing what it felt like without me. "Claire," I said slowly, "I am not coming back." Her voice cracked. "Please." "You don't know what's happening." "I know everything I need to know," I said, turning toward the road, but she grabbed my arm, hard. "Stop running from the family." I pulled away. "Stop pretending this is still one." The hurt in her eyes was real, but it wasn't my responsibility to soothe anymore. I walked away, leaving her standing on the courthouse steps, shaking. The night air felt colder as I reached the bottom of the hill, headlights sweeping past me as cars turned onto the main road. My phone buzzed. "Eli, you okay?" I typed back. "Family drama." He replied immediately. "Want company?" I hesitated, then typed, "Come to the old greenhouse." 10 minutes later, his truck pulled up and he climbed out, looking concerned but ready for anything. "What happened?" he asked. They're trying to ban me from the farm. His eyes filled with fury. Protective, not pitying. They can't do that. They can if they own it. Well, he said, you're about to own something bigger. That steadied me. He walked me into the greenhouse where moonlight streamed through the broken glass. You need to hear this, he said softly. Your father came to me earlier today. My stomach dropped. What? He wanted me to talk you into coming back. He what? He offered me money. Eli said, a lot of it. My mouth fell open. To control me? To influence you, he corrected, to guide you home. And what did you say? He stepped closer. I told him I wasn't for sale, my breath caught. He didn't like that, Eli continued. He said, you'd listen eventually. That you always did. Something inside me snapped. Not in anger this time, but in clarity. He really thinks he still owns me, I whispered. He doesn't, Eli said. Not anymore. No, I agreed, lifting my chin. Not anymore. The anger didn't burn this time. It solidified, became steel, a quiet, unshakable resolve. My father wasn't just losing control. He was losing the illusion that he ever had it. And as I stood there in that moonlit greenhouse, broken glass above, broken family behind, and a future wide open in front of me, I realized something sharp and undeniable. This wasn't the climax of my story, this was the ignition, and my family had no idea how big the fire was about to get. The next morning didn't rise gently. It slammed itself into my world like a hammer hitting steel. I woke up before the sun, mind sharp, heartbeat steady, and for the first time since leaving the farm, I didn't feel like someone crawling out of rubble. I felt like someone preparing for war. The kind you don't fight with fists or fury, but with success so loud it drowns out every insult, every betrayal, every "you're not enough" they ever threw my way. I washed my face, tied my hair up, and stepped outside into the cold morning air. It didn't sting like it used to. It felt cleansing, clarifying, like the kind of cold that wakes up a version of you that has been sleeping for years. My phone buzzed as I headed toward Eli's ranch. Dad, come home, let's talk before things go too far. Too far. Too far? As if they weren't the ones who shoved me into this new life with their greed and arrogance. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. My silence was already speaking for me. When I reached Eli's ranch, he was already outside repairing a fence post, shirt sleeves rolled up, hair damp from sweat, looking like someone who didn't run from hard work but ran toward it. Morning, he said, nodding at me like today was any other day, like the world wasn't on the verge of splitting open behind me. Ready? More than ready, I said. We spent hours reviewing layout plans, discussing livestock breeds, budgeting feed costs, selecting equipment, mapping where the barns would stand. Eli already had suppliers lined up, contractors ready, and contacts who owed him favors, but more than all that, he believed in me, without conditions, without strings. And that belief felt like oxygen. By noon, we'd finalized the entire foundation plan for the ranch. I stared down at the blueprint spread across the table. Fresh lines, clean borders, future buildings drawn with precision and purpose. My ranch, my empire, my future. You're shaking, Eli said quietly. I glanced at my hands. He was right. It doesn't feel real yet. It will, he said, soon. But as we packed the rolled up plans, his expression shifted, subtle, cautious, something new tightening his jaw. There's something else, he said. Something you should hear. My stomach tensed. What happened now? Your parents are coming, he said, to the property today. The air froze around me. Why? Because they know, he said. They know you're building something. My pulse kicked. Did you tell them? No, he said quickly, but someone did. A bitter laugh escaped my throat. Let me guess, Claire. He nodded once. She means well, he said, but she still lives under their thumb. Of course she did. Of course she cracked under pressure. Guilt was her leash. Meanwhile, I cut mine. I exhaled slowly, feeling the world shift again under my feet. Let them come, I said. Let them see what they lost. Eli smiled, that slow, proud, dangerous smile of someone who knows he's standing beside a rising storm. I thought you'd say that. And then, as if summoned by the drama gods themselves, we heard the crunch of tires on gravel. A familiar old truck. My father's. Dust rising around it like steam off something boiling over. Stay calm, Eli said, stepping beside me. Don't tell me that now, I muttered. The truck parked crooked, the door slammed, and there he was. My father, jaw tight, eyes wild, shoulders squared in that old posture he used whenever he felt threatened by something he couldn't control. My mother climbed out next, nervous, wringing her hands. And behind them, my sister, looking like she regretted everything but didn't know how to undo it. My father marched toward us. What the hell do you think you're doing? He snapped. I met his eyes, unflinching. Building my own ranch. With him, he pointed at Eli like he was some stray dog. With someone who actually respects me, I said. Dad scoffed. You're making a mistake. You don't know what you're doing. You can't run a ranch alone. I'm not alone, I said, glancing at Eli, and I've been running one my whole life. You just never gave me credit. He stepped closer, voice sharp. You're throwing away your family. You threw me away first, I said. The moment you handed the farm to someone who didn't earn it, Clint is a good man. Clint, I said, couldn't tell the difference between hay and straw last week. My sister winced. My mother looked away, my father's face flushed red. We did what we thought was best. For who? I asked. For the farm or for your ego? Silence, thick, choking, undeniable silence. I had never seen my father speechless in my life. It felt like watching a giant crack under his own weight. You're not supposed to do this, he whispered. You're not supposed to leave. I know, I said softly, and that's why I had to. He swallowed hard, fists clenching. Come home. We'll fix this. We'll fix everything. My chest tightened. Not because I believed him, but because for the first time ever, he sounded small. Like a man losing something he never valued until it was gone. I'm not coming home, I said. My voice didn't shake, not even once. I'm not your laborer. I'm not your backup plan. I'm not your free insurance policy. I'm not your safety net. I'm your daughter, and you didn't treat me like one. My mother began crying softly, covering her mouth. My sister whispered, Dad, stop, but he didn't. Instead, he broke, we need you. I took a slow breath. I needed you first. His face crumpled. Not in anger, a crack in the armor, a glimpse of the man he could have been. If you walk away, he said softly, the farm will fall apart. I stepped forward. Inches away, then let it. He stared at me, realizing the truth. He could no longer control me. He could no longer guilt me. He could no longer bend me. He could no longer own me. And with every second he understood that, he shrank. Finally, Eli stepped forward, voice steady. She has a home here. She has a ranch here. She has a future here, and you can't take it from her. My father looked at him, looked at me, looked at the open land behind us, and something inside him shattered. He took a step back, then another. My mother grabbed his arm. My sister watched with wide, teary eyes, and for the first time in my life, they were the ones walking away, not me. As their truck disappeared down the dirt road, Eli turned to me. You okay? I exhaled. The deepest breath of my life. Yeah, I said. Actually, I am. The wind blew across the fields like a promise. The land didn't reject me. It welcomed me. And as we walked toward the blueprint table to finish shaping the empire I should have always had, I felt the truth settle deep in my bones. My family didn't push me off my path. They pushed me onto the one I was meant to build myself.